Hey there, boys and girls. As you're looking at these 5 images by professional artists, I want you to look and see if you can notice what's the similar or the same about all 5 of these pictures. As you were looking at them, if you guessed that they all are different blues, there's not many other colors besides blue, light blue, and dark blue, you are absolutely right. This kind of painting is called a monochromatic, which means one color painting. It's when you just use one color, you add black or white to that color to lighten it or darken it. Today, we're going to be working on a project that is going to be set at night, just like these pictures, and it will be monochromatic. Here's a couple examples of what some other students have done. We're basically going to be making an owl picture that's hanging out on a branch or just flying off a branch, set right behind the moon. You can see in all these pictures the moon is in a different location. The branches, some of them are straight, some of them are curvy. All the owls are a little different, and I think you're going to have a whole lot of fun with this project. Here's how we're going to make a monochromatic painting. You need to have one color, your blue for the sky, and white to start off with. You'll need a bucket of water, a paintbrush, and a paper towel to dry your brush. Let me grab one. Okay. Now, start off by painting a circle-shaped moon. Anywhere on your paper will be fine. You can put it right in the center. You can put it somewhere outside of the center. You can put it in the corner. It's totally up to you where you start your moon shape. But paint it all white. Then the next thing you're going to paint, after you paint your moon all white, you're going to make a ring of white right around your moon. It's like what I'm doing right now. We're going to mix just a teensy bit of blue into that ring that we just painted. Now that ring needs to be wet. So as you're painting, if it's dry, you'll need to add a little bit more white to make it wet again. You can blend it by adding a little bit of white back over top, but the idea is to, as you make rings around it, you're going to make those rings just a little bit darker and a little bit darker as you go. And you'll make them darker by adding less and less white. So I'm adding another ring of white just so it's a little bit wet. And then we'll add this ring, just a little bit more blue as we go around. So here's one layer, another layer of blue. And the idea is just to get darker and darker and darker as you go. And again, the only way you can make it darker is to add more blue. Adding more white will not make it darker, it will make it lighter. So we want the edges of our paper to be as dark as we possibly can. Now we'll do that step by adding black, but for right now we're just going to add blue and white together, spreading it out so that it's darker and darker and darker as we go. Don't be afraid to paint right off the edge of your paper. Just know that whenever it's time to clean up, you got to clean up that mess or on the edge of the table or anything, any spills or anything. Make sure as you paint that you're also taking the time to take care of your brush. Make sure that you rinse it out and clean it as you go. You don't want to have blue on it and then dip it right into white. You can have blue on it and then dip it into blue, but you don't want to dip white on it and dip it into, or blue on it and dip it into white. That'll turn your white blue color. So see, clean it out. Make sure you rinse it really good. Scrub it across the bottom. Don't splash and don't tap. Just use your paper towel to dry it off. And once you've done your tint, and the tints are when you add white to a color, then we'll move on to our making a shade. A shade is whenever you add black to a color. So we'll just add pure blue all the way around, just like we did with the white this time. This time it's just with blue instead of with white. Now rinse my brush out, clean it up real good. We don't want to dunk blue into our black paint. A little bit of black this time, just a wee bit of black. Mix that into our blue that we just set down. And this is going to, I had to re-wet it with that blue. Now we're going to darken it. Blend it out neatly. So each new ring should get darker and darker. Now, any color plus black will be a shade of that color. This part shouldn't take you too long. You want to work while it's wet. Not, if you work slow, then it's possible that the color that you put down will dry before you mix the next color into it. Since you want to mix on your paper, you'll need to work fairly quickly. Okay? You should have plenty of time to get this project done by the end of class. Go all the way to the edge, and then on the very edges, you almost want that to be almost pure black. You just want it to be the darkest blue you could possibly make, so it really looks like nighttime. Once you have got in your night sky, don't forget to clean up your paintbrush. You're going to be all done with it at this point. So wash it, dry it, and then set it right on your paint tray. If there's more than one paintbrush on your tray, put them all in the same direction. Make sure your paper towel goes into the tabletop trash can, and you're going to need to move your painting aside. You can turn your painting in any direction to add your owl and branch the next. So make sure your trash gets thrown away, and let's begin making your owl. The tree branches for your owl will be basically really skinny triangle shapes. You will, if you're just afraid to cut just straight off, you can always use a white crayon and make very thin triangles that kind of zigzag back and forth on the end of the paper, in your black paper. Just make 1, 2, 3, 4, make 5 of them. Just for starters. You can always add more with the scraps, but 5 or 6 is a good starting point. Okay, you can see they make really long, skinny triangles. Just cut them out. Make sure you're cutting neatly. These cool colors, the blue is a cool color, is interesting because it really makes it feel cold outside. And this time of year, as the air is starting to get colder and colder, this makes a perfect picture for a nighttime, cool air owl. So to make your tree branch, now you don't have to do triangles. You can do curvy branches, whatever. But if you just want a simple approach, just straight, long triangles will work. And you're going to glue them down so that they divide at different points. See, that divided that branch in half. And maybe we'll shorten this one, cut it a little bit shorter, and divide another branch in half if we need to. You don't need to use much glue on this, especially since most of your paintings are still going to be a little wet. The paint will also help act as glue. So just be very careful when you stick your fingers on it. You don't want to have your fingers pick up the paint that's already down and wet. Here I'm using a small piece, and I'm just going to go ahead and cut that one in half and use my scraps to make really small branches. If you'd like to cut out curvy branches, maybe it's a gnarly tree that your owl is sitting in, feel free. Now remember, like all projects, I work very quickly, and I don't use as much creativity as you guys do. So I want to see your full-blown creativity on this project. You know, if you want to make your branches just a little bit different, you can. If you want to make your owls just a little bit different, you can. You can add details, anything to make it special for you. See, I'm making some of these branches longer and some of them shorter. Real trees, they have a variety of length branches. Some are much longer and some are much shorter. So if you want to really make it look real, you'll add variety. Some skinnier, some thicker, some thinner. Don't forget, as you're setting up your branch, you want to make sure that you're thinking ahead and thinking about the place where you want your owl to sit. Okay? There you go. I think that should do it for my branches. I have plenty on there. I've shown you really quickly. So I'm going to move it aside and show you how to make an owl, or kind of a basic template for an owl. You're going to start, you definitely use a pencil or a white crayon. Start with an oval shape. Now, it doesn't have to be a perfect circle. It just needs to be sort of an oval shape. Then that's going to be for the body and the head. Then you need to make triangle shapes for the owl wings. And here's 2 for the wings. And you'll need to make 2 small triangles for the peaks on top of his head. So 2 larger triangles, 2 small triangles, and oval. Then cut out all your shapes. And decide where you want to put them on your paper. Right now I'm cutting out the legs. I'm gonna, instead of just having his body sit on the branch, I'm gonna show his legs, because that's a little bit different than some of the other owl pictures that I've already shown you. None of them are showing any leg. And glue them all down. Glue the body down. Just add a few drops. You don't need a ton of glue. Remember, the paint's still a little wet on here, so that should help. I'm going to have my owl lean a little bit because I made the oval just a smidge too big. And when I did that, his head's going to stick off the page. So I'm going to have his body tilted a little bit to the side. Cut out the wings. And then I'll cut out the peaks for his head. Glue it all together, draw in his eyeballs. Decide how you want his wings to go. Now, you can tuck his wings underneath his body if you do it fast enough and the glue hasn't dried. If not, you can just glue it right on, because our owl is all black, it's a silhouette. A silhouette is when you only see the darkest part of that shape. So the owl shape or the branch shape is a silhouette. So we've silhouetted our owl in front of the moon. Usually things, whenever they're in front of a bright light source, they tend to get silhouetted. So as we work, we don't have to worry about any extra special colors. Right now I'm just cutting out the peaks for what looks to be like a double owl mohawk. And make sure I have in the right spot, and then I'll add a dot of glue and glue it down. Do the same thing, put a little dot of glue, make sure I have it in the right spot, right where I want it, and then glue it down, press it. And I'll use my crayons for the details. Orange beak. Wide eyeballs. Oval shape, and put a circle inside the oval shape, and then fill in every part you want to be white and leave the pupil black. Really quite simple. Once you've done that, clean up all your mess.